Good morning. Welcome to the worship service at the First Unitarian Church of Hobart. My name is Barb Langle, and I participate in the life of the church by serving on the Board of Trustees, among other things. We are a religious community of people with diverse beliefs and shared values. Our diverse beliefs are expressed in our 6 sources. Our shared values are expressed in our 7 principles. Both can be found online at uua.org. Together, we strive to grow spiritually, build community, and live our values in the world. There's a couple live announcements today, Marianne.
Hello, my name is Marianne. Some of us have been discussing fundraising ideas, the proceeds going to the church. One of the suggestions is to create an escape room. We will determine the cost per person in groups of 3 to 5 for the opportunity to find the clues within 30 minutes and escape. Michelle Farrell sent me a link showing how to create a Harry Potter themed escape room. This could be fun for everyone of all ages. October 7 has been suggested for the event, and we can easily transform the nursery into an escape room. I'm sure the kids would like that too. I would like to ask for volunteers to help me with this project. If you are interested, please see me during the coffee hour. If you know anyone who is not here currently, who might be interested in helping with this, please have them contact me. Thank you.
Gonna be fun, everybody.
Oh yeah, I am so hyped. So hyped.
Yeah, good morning real quick. The shoe drive for the Sojourner Truth House was going to end today, but my lovely wife was running around the house collecting her shoes today. And that got me thinking that, well, maybe other people need just a little more time. So there's a lot of shoes out there. I appreciate that. The Sojourner Truth House gets 40 cents for every pound, and the shoes get reused. So please, if you have any shoes, bring them next week. Next week will be the last week, and we'll take them to Sojourner Truth House. Real quick, I also went to a harm reduction training thing with some other people, and I have test strips for fentanyl. So if you have any grandkids or kids going off to college, I know you tell them don't take drugs, but these are self-explanatory and they could save a life real quick. So come see me and I'll give you them. Thank you.
We are currently streaming our services online. The Joys and Sorrows portion of our service, however, is private, and we will take a break during that time. Other than that, the service will be recorded and will be available for future viewing on Facebook, YouTube, and the church website. Now please let your Facebook and Twitter friends that know that you are attending worship with hashtag FirstUnitarian-Hobart. And please silence your devices, take a deep breath, and another, and join us in the spirit of reverence.
You would join me in lighting the chalice. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
The Only Ones Who Ever Win by Eileen B. Karpeles. Out of our separate lives we come to walk this path together for an hour or a day, for a week or a month or a series of months and years. For this space of time we travel together, making much or little or nothing at all of the fact that another walks with us. We can keep our eyes cast down, protecting ourselves from the pain we risk whenever we allow another human being to touch us. Living safe little lives inside our sterile wrappings. Or we can reach out, risking a little or a lot, or every coin we have, because we believe that loving and being loved is the only game in town. The choice is ours. Those who risk much lose much, but they are also the only ones who ever win.
Please rise, body or spirit, for the opening hymn, number 125, in the living tradition.
Something broken in my soul.
please remain standing and join me in the affirmation of faith. The words are printed on the screen and in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament. Service is its prayer. And this is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. We are striving to create a worship space which is both spiritual and safe. However, we know that not everyone can attend in person. We extend a special welcome to everyone that is joining us virtually today, and thanks for our tech team for making this happen. For those present in the sanctuary, please take a moment to greet your neighbor by waving your hand and letting your smile fill your face.
Please be seated. In the first week of this series, I introduced our joys and sorrows with a guided meditation by Joanna Macy, which is fitting to this service. And this week, I will just do a briefer reminder of that guided meditation. So in this moment, just notice the energy of life within you and around you. The strands of that life energy that connect us to all that is around us. And how the flesh of your body has been intricately concocted out of the food you have eaten and the hands and materials that made it possible. How the strands of that life energy extend back through time, through parents and grandparents and great-grandparents, extending back through countless generations, through numberless ancestors that we share with one another, all the way back to those with gills and wings, all of which evolved from star stuff. And the pain that is also included in that web. A friend with cancer, an oil spill coating the beach, a mother weeping for her lost children. Do not shut them out. They live in the web of this planet time. Open to these sorrows. Breathe them in so the channels may stay open for the flow of energy and life and change. If we block the pain, we block the joy as well. There is power in the flowing of this fluid net, love that has enriched us and love that we give. Feel the caring and love that flow through you. We are deeply a part of it all, shaped by it, so may we be open to it, unafraid, relaxed, and alert. May we open to all our siblings that are going through a difficult time, but not alone. Still sensing these connections through space and time, I would invite you to share whatever joys or sorrows you bring with you this morning that are on your heart, weighing you down, lifting you up, so that we may hold them all together. And so in a moment, I'll walk around with that microphone And I would just ask if you have something to share your name with us so that we know who you are.
The story this morning is the wisdom of Allah from the Middle East. One day, when Nasruddin the Hodja was working in his garden, he became very warm. He sat down in the shade of a walnut tree, and making sure that no one was about, he slipped off his turban to cool his bald head. As he relaxed, he meditated upon the beauty of nature and the great wisdom of Allah. Observing a fine pumpkin in the garden, he smiled to himself. Allah, your ways are great indeed, he mused out loud. But there are a few things that I would have done differently were I in charge. See the proud pumpkin growing on a spindly little vine, and then consider the walnut, a tiny, inconsequential nut upon a great and lordly tree. Well, if I had been planning things, I would have reversed it. I'd have hung all those pumpkins in all of their glory from this magnificent tree and let the tiny walnuts cling to the spindly pumpkin vine on the ground. So musing, he closed his eyes to dream of the other things he might do differently. A gentle breeze stirred the branches above him. Suddenly, a walnut fell from the tree and landed with a thud on the top of Hodja's bald head. As the pain spread, he rubbed the lump that had begun to swell on his scalp. Then an understanding smile spread over his face. He bowed down toward Mecca. "Oh, Allah," he murmured, "forgive me. Your wisdom is great indeed. Suppose I had been arranging matters. I should just now have been hit upon the head by a pumpkin. Ah, Allah, great indeed is thy wisdom."
I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn 1053, How Could Anyone? Please be seated. So this is the final week of this series that we've been doing for the month of July. I did the first couple of weeks, and then Pete and Gail did the last couple of weeks. And so if you have any lingering questions or thoughts, I would love to continue the conversation beyond just this space. We'll be having a discussion after the worship service, 15 minutes after the worship service. We'll be regathering in here. So if you'd like to join us for that, please just grab a chair from out there and bring it in here, and we'll circle up and discuss. So this series that we've been diving into has very much been about love and some of the intricacies in there, some of the various aspects of it, and how there's a temptation in our society that's a natural human temptation, but ends up getting added to by some cultural trends to stay safe and in control. The very first steps that are taken on that path toward focusing on safety and control at the expense of all else happen with a little dishonesty with one another, with ourselves, about how much safety and control we actually need in order to be okay. How much power we could possibly exert over ourselves or others in order to make things a certain way. And one of the downsides of giving into this temptation to stay safe and in control is that we reinforce our loneliness. How can we consciously choose the actions that we take in the world in a way that, in Matthew Fox's words, arise from our freedom and not from our acting out in the face of what we don't like? Acknowledging the deep suffering of the world and resolving to assist in a great turning beyond suffering. Engaging in a sort of spirit work that heals and gives us hope, thereby empowering us on the way to a healing life. Finding our prophetic voice, giving adequate attention to future generations not yet born, and contributing to the healing work that our times and our pain require. How can we, in the words of Joanna Macy, take our yearnings and help us find in them the courage, commitment, and community that we need to change our lives and move into action for the healing of the world? Taking stock of the grandeur of the human heart, feeling a readiness to face the bad news, feeling and expressing both our grief and our rage, and also the courage and creativity that we might find within and among one another. As Macy notes, I imagine that future generations will look back on this period and call it the time of the Great Turning. It is this epochal shift from a self-destructive industrial growth society to a life-sustaining society. And so my hope throughout this series has been to, in Fox's words, invite us into the despair and darkness and fear that grips all of us, and dispel the notion that denial, numbing, or escape are valid options, but rather inducing learning that takes place not only in our heads, but also in our hearts. Not settling for knowledge alone, as one might find in a TED Talk, because smartness can block wisdom. And what we're aiming at here is wisdom. Early in the series, I talked about letting go of shoulds. What I think you should be doing or feeling or saying, what I think I should be feeling or thinking or wanting. Because when we let go of those shoulds, it allows us to, in the words of author Susan Campbell, discover our authentic voice, to uncork whatever parts of ourselves have been squelched. What we most tend to have shoulds around is, of course, suffering, our own or others. But as philosopher Theodor Adorno has written, the need to let suffering speak is the condition of all truth. And so a few weeks ago, we had this extended reading from the Book of Lamentations to bring some of that voice from millennia ago into the room. And over the last couple of weeks, Pete and Gail have talked about their experiences of leaning into a more bold loving. In my own life, there was a shift that occurred around the time that I started seminary. Before I went off to seminary on the West Coast, I spent 3 years living in Boston at a cooperative. There were 9 of us in this house, ranging in age from 6 to 56. And it was this really lovely experience in many regards, and I got to just have those great meetings of just going into the kitchen in the morning, and there's somebody else there to say, oh, hey, how was your evening last night? Or did you go to this concert this past weekend? Or how are things happening? And the 6-year-old in the house at one point shared that she had a conversation with the other kids in school with her, and she was so sad for them that they only had 2 adults to live with. And she had 8 adults to live with. There was this really beautiful feeling of community there, and getting to sit and be with them and get to know all these folks that I had just found on Craigslist. Hey, there's a housing cooperative that's looking for folks. There's cheap rent, and moving in there. I didn't know over those 3 years what I would discover. But after that, I went off to the West Coast to go to seminary, and alongside my first year in seminary, I did a year-long coaching and leadership training. And the reason that I was in seminary wasn't to become a minister, because at that point that wasn't my plan. The reason that I was in seminary was because it felt like that was just where I was supposed to be. Not in some grand plan sort of way, it just felt like the right next step for me to take. But in this year-long coaching program, I had the experience of encountering strangers in a totally new way. That first weekend, it was a Friday morning at 10 a.m. through Sunday evening at 10 p.m. experience. And each person of the 35 people in the course would just get up in front of everybody else for about 45 minutes to an hour or so and share deeply about themselves and what's on their heart and what's in their soul and what's in their spirit. And they'd be coached through that process. And it was the first really deep, intentional experience that I'd had of really dropping in with people that substantively. I'd certainly had heart connections before with people that I was dating or gotten to know people in my family on a really beautiful level. But it was something else to just bear witness to the human experience in this stranger that I hadn't even met yet. And so in the evenings when I would go home from this course, I would take the BART, the subway system in the Bay Area, and I would just see all of these other strangers on the train. And I could imagine all the beauty inside that they hadn't quite learned how to share with the rest of the world. And all the pain that they might be carrying that might have them sit in that particular position on that subway seat. And I learned how to fall in love with the world. I learned new depths and places in my heart that I could possibly open and share. And so I fell in love for the first time with the person that I was dating at that time. And I remember going back to visit the co-op in Boston and just spending some time with them and being able to share from a new place within me. Being able to come to tears talking with these people that I'd gotten to know over the past 3 years, but come from a newly developed, broadened, more whole part of myself. And feel those relationships deepen. And so by the end of that first year of seminary, by the end of that year-long coaching program, the last piece fell into place of, ministry. That totally makes sense. There are lots of different aspects of what we ministers do. Some of it is up here, talking to you, preparing sermons and worship services. Some of it is committee meetings. Some of it is board retreats. Some of it is fundraising efforts and so on. But a piece of it is also the pastoral encounter with other folks. And sometimes that can happen in a one-on-one appointment if somebody gets in touch with me and we can set up a time and sit down. Sometimes it happens during coffee hour. Sometimes it happens in small groups. But when we show up and we bring the fullness of ourselves, our pain, our rawness, our facing life fully. Not even necessarily in a crisis, but just in a regular, chronic experience of being human in this place with these people. Some new nourishment can open up. When someone has shared their struggles with you, not just the story of their struggles, but their experience of struggling, what parts of your heart and soul does that touch? What does it feel like to be human in those moments? And do you make space for that within yourself as well? To have that self-encounter on that deep level? And do you offer that to others, allowing them to have that deep encounter with you? All of this points towards some theological points about Unitarian Universalism. In our story this morning, we have this wisdom tale about realizing Allah is actually wise. Why did I think I had a better plan? And there's a few different ways to hear it. There's similar stories in Buddhism and Christianity and so forth. And we can hear it in one way of, there's a greater thing that I need to be in obedience to, which is one narrative that we can hear it through. Or another narrative that we can hear it through is there's a larger flourishing that I can take part in. And those are very different theologies, very different ways of seeing the world. And depending on what our foundation is, it means that we show up to life differently. One of the themes over this series that's been touched on by a number of, by Pete and Gail and myself, has been how there are social norms in society that we might need to come up against and disrupt. As UU theologian has written, love disrupts established social norms. That's part of what love does. And since it's daunting, it's really helpful to be clear about where we're coming from. There's this one category of the larger study of theology called theological anthropology. And what that talks about is what it means to be human, what it means to live in right relationship with the divine, what it means to love and be loved. And as Parker has written, theological anthropology shapes the structures of meaning that we live by and determines what kind of home we build for ourselves, for our family, for our spiritual lives. Religious liberals, which is not quite the same as political liberals, but we Unitarians are religious liberals. We reject the view that human beings are by nature selfish sinners, unable to choose what is right, driven by their rebellion against God's rule and in bondage to the needs and desires. Instead, we religious liberals have taught that human beings are created in the image of God and possess sacred gifts that they must learn to use for good. Among these are the powers of the soul, as the 19th century Unitarian William Ellery Channing called them. The capacity for sexual intimacy and pleasure is one of the good gifts of God, along with the capacities for reason and feeling and imagination and language and memory and creativity and conscience and more. And so human existence is to be respected and reverenced as reflecting a divine origin, as opposed to be hidden from or scared of and to try to control. This foundation, this religious liberal foundation, served to create so many of the movements of the 19th century. For free public education, led by Horace Mann, after whom the neighborhood in Gary is named, the Unitarian educational pioneer. The starting of kindergartens, the abolition of slavery, including women in education and voting and professional life, all of this was built on that same religious liberal theology. And Parker goes on, belief in the inherent goodness and worth of human beings led to outcries against every form of oppression and suppression. Exploitation, prejudice, and abuse of human beings were crimes against God as well as humanity. And humanity's divine nature was its authorization for revolt against injustice. Obligations to love and care for one another are implicit in life, not add-ons. We are bound together in an inescapable net of mutuality, as Martin Luther King Jr. would say. What injures one diminishes all. And today, these remain countercultural values in a dominant social order that frequently tells us that we are alone. And we have to look out for number one. That we need to seek control and safety. It's like that image of the dandelion that Gail focused on, that's in the last week, that's on the cover of your order of service, that Patricia made a larger piece of. Unfortunately, this fell down from the sticky stuff up here, so it's not hanging in the same way. But huge thanks to Patricia for recreating that. And this dandelion that has this full cycle of connection, of receiving nourishment, of offering beauty and nourishment into the world. As Parker writes, to be human is to be embedded in the intricate web of life. To be alive is to receive the world through all the channels of the senses, all the sensitive modes of feeling that are ours, and to respond with our own contribution. We give to life through our touch, our word, our action, our embrace, our guidance, our acceptance, our censure, our blessing. All living is in community and in connection with others. Love is what happens in the vibrant interchange among living beings and life forms. It is the experience of being drawn to one another, of interacting with each other to create happiness and joy, to labor, to care for life's needs, to give refreshment to the soul, which is quite different from the dominant theology of our society. And the dominant theology of our society that doesn't even come from the church, it comes from the marketplace. That our primary interest is self-interest. Our immediate gratification is the most important thing to respond to, unconcerned with how others are doing. But that societal theology is a dehumanizing one, and it is ecologically damaging. Even Calvin's theology of total depravity at least pointed somewhere positive to a reconciliation. So let us counter the dominant, joyless, diminished view of humanity and its life-threatening effects on Earth's ecologies. Instead, let us remind ourselves that intimacy and connection are givens, and build on our understanding that all life is interdependent. Those soul powers that we have, that we are born with, atrophy without exercise. So let's exercise them. Last week, Gail led us all in something to take us out of our comfort zones, and so I want to build on that and welcome you to also step outside of your comfort zones and to find somebody in this room that you didn't come with, that you're not related to, who maybe you don't know as well, and partner up with that other person in some way and just find a seat next to them. So feel free to rearrange yourself around the room. And throughout this exercise, as you're moving yourself around, just notice what your own edge of safety and comfort is. The goal here isn't to freak people out, but it's also not to keep people comfortable. So try to find that edge for yourself of what feels like, this might be a little bit uncomfortable, but I'm willing to do this. But it might be a little bit of a growth risk zone for me of being with somebody else, of just sitting with them and taking some time with them. And so as we're doing this, just find a space to sit down next to this person or behind this person or in front of this person. And if you're watching this at home, if there's somebody in the room with you, you can do this with. That's great. If there's a mirror, you can use the mirror as well to have this interaction with yourself. And so as we do this, I invite you to just find yourself in a space of quiet. Find yourself in a little moment of quietude. So just so that we can hear what's going on. So just bring your voice to a pause. There'll be plenty of stuff to do in just a moment. So just bring your voice down to a lower decibel level and a little bit more quiet than that. A little bit more quiet and a little bit more quiet, just allowing your voice to end. So as you're sitting with this other person, just allow your eyes to close, and just to be within your own self, and just notice what it's like to see the inside of your own eyeballs, however bright or dark that might be. And we're going to engage in some eye contact in a moment. And for some of you, that might feel a little uncomfortable. For some of you, that might feel super wonderful and amazing. And for some of you, that might feel like, oh, that's too uncomfortable. I can't deal with this. So if you find it too distracting, you can just leave your eyes closed and just maintain your awareness of this other person. But I would encourage you, if it's not too distracting, to lean into the eye contact. So allow your eyes to open and just look at this person next to you. And don't say anything. Don't say anything. Still no need for voice. And as you're looking at this other person, ask them just visually, not with your words, but just with your eyes, if it's okay to hold their hand while you're doing this. So just with your, so you can lift up a hand, you can hold, you can decline from that. That's totally fine. Just using body language, and then just rest into your breathing as you're in this eye contact place. Rest into your breathing, and just notice how before you is this human of planet Earth. And there's this opportunity right now to behold the uniqueness of this particular being that has been given to you right now. And then enter the first abode of your awareness, to the gifts and strengths of this being that's sitting across from you. Though you can only guess at their gifts and strengths, behind those eyes are unmeasured reserves of courage and intelligence, of patience, endurance, wit, and wisdom. There are gifts that even this person is unaware of having. And consider what these powers and potentials could do for the healing of our world if believed and acted on. And as you consider that, experience your desire that this person be free from fear, free from greed, from hatred, confusion, from all the causes of suffering. And as you feel how much you genuinely want this, know that what you are experiencing is the great loving kindness. It is such good medicine for our world. You may bow to this person and then find yourself in the second abode, opening your awareness to the unique, unrepeatable human before you once again. Letting yourself open to the pain that is in this person's life. As in all human lives, there are sorrows in this one. Though you can only guess at them, there are disappointments and failures, losses and loneliness and abuse There are hurts that this person may never have told to another human being. You cannot take that pain away, but you can choose to be with it. And as you sense your readiness to be with another's suffering, know that what you are experiencing is the great compassion. And it is excellent for the healing of our world. And bow once again to this person and enter the third abode, considering how good it would be to work together on a joint project toward a common goal, perhaps something big. And think what it would be like to plan and plot and conspire together, to take risks, to discover each other's strengths in working together, celebrating the successes along the way, consoling each other over the setbacks, forgiving each other when you mess up, and simply being there for each other. As you open to that possibility, you open to the great wealth, the power in each other's powers, the joy in each other's joy. And again, bow to what you have encountered and enter the fourth and last abode, letting your awareness drop deep within you like a stone, sinking below the level of what words can express, to the deep flows of relationship that interweave our lives through space and time, through myriad encounters and countless forms. See the being before you as if seeing the face of one who at another time, another place, was a love or an enemy, a parent or child. And now you meet again on the brink of time, almost as if by appointment. And you know that your lives are as inextricably interwoven as nerve cells in the mind of a great being. Out of that web you cannot fail. No stupidity, failure, or cowardice can ever sever you from that living web. For that is what you are. Rest in that knowing. Rest in the great peace. Out of it we can act, we can risk everything and let each other encounter a homecoming to our true nature. Indeed, it is so. I invite you to bow one last and final time to this encounter with this person, however much you leaned into your discomfort. It was a beautiful thing that you did so. And so your homework over this coming week is both to come to the post-worship discussion after this, 15 minutes after the service, but then also to just try this out in small ways over the course of this coming week. Just looking at whatever the person that you see from day to day, however that shows up, maybe a neighbor, maybe a child, maybe a coworker, a bus driver, and regard them with the recognition that in this person are gifts of the healing for our world, powers that can redound to the joy of all beings, in the word of Joanna Macy, who wrote this guided meditation. Or, in addition to that person that you might see out in public, just looking at your own face in the mirror, regarding yourself with that recognition that in this person are gifts for the healing of our world, powers that can redound to the joy of all beings. In Macy and Brown's words, it is an excellent antidote to boredom when our eye falls on another person, say on the street, waiting in a checkout line. It charges the idle moment with beauty and discovery. It also is useful when dealing with people with whom we are tempted to dislike or disregard. It breaks open our accustomed ways of viewing them, When used as a meditation in action, one does not, of course, gaze long and deeply upon the other, as in a guided exercise like this. Just a casual glance is enough. You don't need to freak people out in public. This was the extended version. You can do the brief version throughout the week. But in this world ruled by wealth and power, in which it easily seems like the best path to strive for control or protection, to arrange everything ourselves, may we listen instead to our Spirit's silent hour, to its pleading with a poignant call to bind our wounds, to face our own wariness of the friends that we need so much, to see one another's pain, to bind one another's wounds, and to share the feast of life. Every time our spirits languish, terrified to draw too near, may we know each other's anguish, and with love that casts out fear, bind our wounds again. In the midst of pain, may we be guided by a love that helps us choose to climb to holy ground, allowing the reality of the moment to provide whatever wisdom it holds, using whatever pain or sorrow we find within ourselves and within one another to free us from our illusions of separateness, to bring us back to the wholeness of our lives, to our connections with one another, that we were never anything less than beautiful, we were never anything less than whole, that our loving is a miracle, and that in our nature we are deeply connected to one another. So may we choose love. May we come out of our separate lives to walk this path together, choosing not to protect ourselves from the pain that we risk whenever we allow another human being to touch us, but choosing instead to reach out, risking a little or a lot or every coin we have, because we believe that loving and being loved is the most important game in town. Letting go of our reckless yearning to be safe, turning again and again toward the blessed security of having nowhere left to hide, giving us the courage to lay ourselves bare, to give from those depths within us, basing our choice on the truth that those who risk much lose much, but they are also the only ones that win. May we forever lean into that practice together.
Thank you, Pastor. Now is the time in our service for our offering. We give to remind ourselves of how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and friendship. We give with the faith that together we have enough. The money in the baskets goes to sustaining the mission of our community. The money in the cups goes to our Faith in Action ministry and a different charity chosen by the ministry every month. This month, the money from the cups for July goes to the Brothers Keeper Garden, which is talked about in your order of service. For those not here with us today, there's an online link on the screen for both one-time and regular donations. And maybe one more volunteer.
This is the last week for the collection for Brothers Keeper. The harvest supports the men's shelter, Brothers Keeper shelter, pays the water bill. This is last week.
For your prayers, your presence, your service, and your gifts, we are truly grateful. And now please rise as you're willing and able and join in singing the closing hymn, number 131, Love Will Guide Us, in the gray hymnal.
Our closing words today are from Evan Young. They're titled, "The Courage to Lay Ourselves Bare." In our reckless yearning to be safe, we turn again and again away from the blessed security of having nowhere left to hide. Give us the courage to lay ourselves bare. Amen.
Well, I was walking in New York City and I brushed up against the man in front of me. I felt a cardboard card on his back, and when he passed the street light I could read it. It said, "Please don't pass me by. I am blind, but you can see. I've been blinded totally. Please don't pass me by." I was walking along 7th Avenue when I came to 14th Street, and I saw in the corner curious mutilations of the human form. It was a school for handicapped people, and there were cripples and people in wheelchairs and crutches, and it was snowing. And I got the sense that the whole city was singing this. "Oh, please don't pass me by. Please don't pass me by. For I am blind, but you can see. 'Cause I've been blinded totally. Please don't pass me by." And you know, as I was walking, I thought it was them who was singing it. I thought it was they who were singing it. I thought it was the other who was singing it. I thought it was someone else. But as I moved along, I knew it was me, and that I was singing it to myself. It went, "Please don't pass me by. Oh, please don't pass me by. For I am blind, but you can see. And I've been blinded totally. Please don't pass me by." Now I know that you're sitting there deep in your velvet seats and you're thinking, "Oh, he's up there saying something that he thinks about." But I'll never have to sing that song. But I promise you, my friends, that you're going to be singing this. It may not be tonight, it may not be tomorrow, but one day you'll be on your knees, and I want you to know the words when the time comes, because you're going to have to sing it to yourself, to another, or to your brother. You're going to have to learn how to sing this song. It goes, Please don't pass me by. Please don't pass me by. I am blind, but you can see. And I've been blinded totally. Please don't pass me by. Well, I sing this for the Jews and the gypsies and the smoke they made. And I sing this for the children of England, the faces so grave. And I sing this for a Savior with no one to save. Hey, won't you be naked for me? Won't you be naked for me? It goes, please don't pass me by. Please don't pass me by. For I am blind, yeah, but you can see. I've been blinded totally. Please don't pass me by. Well, you know, I have my song, and I have my poem, I have my book, and I have the army. And sometimes I guess I have your applause. I make some money, but you know, my friends, I'm still out there on the corner. I'm with the freaks. I'm with the hunted. I'm with the maimed. Yes, I'm with the torn. I'm with the down. I'm with the poor. Come on now. Got to sing it one last time. Please don't pass me by. Please don't pass me by. For I am blinded, but you can see. And I've been blinded totally. Please don't pass me by.
We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. If you're joining us for the post-worship discussion, please grab a chair from in there and we'll talk right here in 15 minutes.